Hello, so today I'm doing my review for the Woodland Wardens deck by Jessica Roux, which is a 52 card deck and guidebook. It is a mass market deck, this one. That's the inside of the box there. This is the guidebook. It is black and white on matte paper. So there are some illustrations in there. You've got a bit of an introduction, how to use the cards and the guidebook. Then you've got some suggested spreads, so there's not many. That's a generic one there, and this one is seasonal as the theme. And then you've got the card spread. So you've got the full color picture with the name, number of the card, the one keyword, about that, upright messages, reverse messages, and then two sort of journal prompts or questions to ask yourself. So it's like that for every card. All of these cards though are in Roman numerals, including in the guidebook. So you do have to know your Roman numerals to be able to find them. So these are the cards. These are the backs, which are a lovely forest green with a floral motif. I edged mine in sort of a brown, I guess chestnut, I would call it. I decided to trim mine, and I did it by hand because I wanted a bit of a rustic feel to the cards, and I wanted it to be itty bitty and mini. I also rounded the corners. So I'll show you what I paired it with before I talk about it further. So for my pairings, I used the Alchemist's Garden Tarot. So I'll pop that in here. And I used the Herbal Astrology deck. So these are the backs for that. So as far as the pairings went, these were phenomenal. I had some of the best readings ever. I had this amazing reading to do with the dream that I had. I will talk about it later when I read from the guidebook, but it was mind-blowing. So as far as the deck goes, I think it's fantastic. For a mass market deck, I think the cardstock is absolutely fine. It is that sort of matte. It shuffles really easily. Like I said, I've trimmed mine down, so I love the itty bitty size, but otherwise the size is just the size of this box. So they're not huge cards. And I've had so much fun. So this was a really surprising deck for me. This is one that I wasn't drawn to personally, but I had seen so many people on YouTube just raving about it, and people that had very different collections to each other. So I thought, okay, obviously it's got a bit of a universal appeal. And I decided, why not? It's a mass market deck. It's not going to break the bank. Let's just give it a shot. I really like it, guys. Look, I do like the illustration style. I love it. The reason that I wasn't drawn to it is because I'm not a big animal person. I've come to find out, except if it's cats. Cats are the exception, so I don't really love animals in decks. But this one, yeah, I do. I totally do. I think the pairings of the animals with the flora, just spot on, just amazing. The keyword, excellent. I think the write-ups are fab. There could have been more. I kind of wish there was more, but you know, it does the job. It does the job. I'm not a fan of the Roman numerals. I don't like having to convert things in my brain. It's really frustrating. So I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, okay, what is this? That's a 10 and that's a 7, 17. Like, I just don't want to do that. I just want to see the number 17 and I can just get on with it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, okay, what is XL for? Like, just, no. Okay, so no. So sometimes on those days where I have brain fog and I can't be bothered, I will just flip through until I see the name of the card because I just don't want to deal. I just don't want to deal with it. For me, the way it reads, it's very simple. It's very simple and direct and to the point. It's got a really beautiful botanical sort of journal feel to it. Like this is sort of an antiquated kind of illustration style, which I really like. I really do like it. And it's got definite cottagecore vibes for me, like dark cottagecore vibes. But like I love the aesthetic of the deck. I love the way it feels. I love the execution. Just don't like the Roman numerals. That's the one little thing that I would change. And obviously I would love a bit more in the guidebook, personally. Would have just loved a bit more information because like I said, it's pretty petite. It's not a lot. But you know, it's fine for what it is. What else can I say about this deck? So I'll do a little read through so you can see how it reads. So let me just move these out of the way and grab the next one. Okay, so here we have romance with the Page of Swords and Palo Santo for Guardian. So I'll just read from the Finch and the Peach. Romance. Love is in the air when Finch and Peach appears. The peach, a sweetly scented heart-shaped fruit, has long been associated with fertility, sexuality, and love. And the lively finch symbolizes exuberance, enthusiasm, and excitement. Upright. Your vibrancy and charm have led to a blossoming romance. Be open to and accepting of new love's many delights. Reverse. Your timidity or unwillingness to take risks may be hindering your chances at love. Remember that vulnerability, while frightening, is essential to healthy relationships. How do I show others I love them? Do I feel safe and supported enough to be open to new love? So like I said, it definitely does the job, something obviously I needed to hear today. So that's fantastic. With this, what I'm going to show you next is the spread that I got for a dream that I had. Okay, so a little backstory about this. I had a dream on the solar eclipse new moon in Aries. It was a dream in which it turns out Persephone came to me. I will tell this story in my monthly wrap up, but she didn't overtly come and say, hey, I'm Persephone and I want to work with you. However, so I got all these sort of clues to figure out their identity, and then I came home and I did a spread to try and confirm who wanted to work with me and what they wanted to work with me about. And this is what I got. And if any of you know Greek mythology and you see that this flower, asphodel, you'll know. If you know, you know. But anyway, so I got the 8 of Cups with the keyword upheaval, which sent chills because the keyword for the vulture and asphodel is also upheaval. But this was the 8 of Cups, so I know this is what Persephone wanted to help me with, especially in regards to obviously walking away from my past love, really being able to let go and head out on a new path on my own. And then also paired with St. John's wort and radiance. So this card is correlated to the sun. The sun is the energy I work with the most. It is my favorite card in the tarot deck. St. John's wort is also to do with treating depression. It tends to be what the plant is used for, and sort of finding my own radiance and joy once again. So going from this into this. And I'll read to you from the vulture and asphodel. So asphodel, guys, is the plant of the underworld, so Hades. There's a place in Hades called the Fields of Asphodel, or the Asphodel Meadows, and that is where people go who are neither good nor evil. So this plant is heavily associated with Persephone. So I'll just read from the card so you can see what I mean. The vulture and asphodel indicates an unforeseen upheaval leading to grief, mourning, or regret. The vulture is often associated with death, but it plays an important role in our ecosystem. Its consumption of carrion, the decaying flesh of animals, prevents the spread of disease. Relatedly, in Greek myth, asphodel was said to grow in the underworld, and to the Victorians it sent the tragic message, "My regrets follow you to the grave." Often what follows upheaval looks like ruin, and it's tempting to clear the rubble and start again. The vulture and asphodel reminds us that there is value in what's been lost. Take time to grieve before you rebuild, lest you harbor regret. Upright, a trauma has occurred and you need time to grieve. Cleanse your wounds carefully before attempting to move on. Reverse, you may be feeling trapped in a cycle of grief, unable to heal or change. If you're overwhelmed, consult with others who can help you identify the source or sources of your unresolved pain. It's impossible to clean a wound we don't know we have. The questions: how do I experience grief? How do I redefine myself after an upheaval? So that reading just sent chills through my spine. Also reading the entries for the other 2 cards as well, the 8 of Cups and the St. John's wort. It just sort of, I've been stuck, if you've followed any of my booktube videos, with like trying to move on and sort of pressuring myself to move on. It's been about 3 months since we broke up, and I just feel like maybe I should be putting myself out there again, and for some reason I just haven't been able to pull the trigger. And this just said to me like, hey, there's no rush, take your time, you still are grieving, don't put a time limit on, you know, how long it takes for you to move on. We all move at our own pace, we all heal at our own pace, there is no rush, it's okay. And sort of with my conversations with Persephone, it's sort of like I'm handing it over to her, like this whole love life of mine and finding, you know, love again, and that I'm sort of placing it in her hands, and I'm not thinking about it anymore, like whether I should be going on dates, or I'm like, I'm just going to let it go, not put my attention on it. I'm just going to put my attention on myself, on connecting to my heart space and really feeling through my grief and, you know, the rebuilding afterwards, and just taking my time so I'm not rushing anything. So seriously, this time of my life this week with this deck was just a very pivotal part in my journey. I will always remember this combination of decks. Will hold a special place for me because of the messages that I received and the way that it came about with forming a sort of relationship with a Greek goddess. So yeah, I was just blown away. So I do love this deck. I'm 10,000% keeping it. I think it's fantastic. I think if you've been in two minds about whether or not to try it out, just try it out, my dudes. You never know. It could be really, you know, life altering, or affirming, or, you know, synchronistic, but at the least, like, at least it's not going to break the bank to try it out. So that's what I appreciate. But it's just really well done. You know, I would have loved even more cards. That's my biggest thing. I'm just like, more. Can we make it so like the new minimum is like 60 card decks? But look, if it's 52 cards, that is a very decent amount. So you really can't complain. 52 is amazing. It's just so wonderful that I would just like even more combinations, because like I said, I was really fascinated with the choices of what they paired with what, and I just had such a blast getting to know it, and look forward to continuing to use it in my practice. Okay, so I thought I would just go through some of the cards that just really stood out to me, my favorites, I guess, out of the deck. Oh, I love all of them, to be honest with you. There's not a single card in this deck that I'm like, oh, I really don't like that. It's just not happened. So that, I think that's fantastic when there's a deck and I'm like, yeah, man, every card is fab. Awesome. That's amazing. So anyway, we've got the chipmunk and laurel with success, the hawk and thistle with graceful persistence, the butterfly and snowdrop with hope, the dragonfly and pansy with balance. Whenever I hear pansy now, I just think of what a bunch of pansies from Madagascar. That's King Julian, who's one of my favorite all-time cartoon characters. Highly recommend. He's a laugh. Here we have the crow and dogwood with intelligence. I so badly want to plant a dogwood in my garden. There's one in particular that I want to plant. I'm just finding a really hard time finding it in Victoria. So it's one of those things I'm going to have to put out there. Please come my way. The cat and lavender, independence. The deer and oat, healing. The finch and peach, romance. The vulture and asphodel, upheaval. The bee and pomegranate, productivity. Oh my God. Pomegranate and asphodel. Well, hello, Persephone. Nice to see you. Here we have the skunk and magnolia with protection. The trout and lily of the valley with purification. The snail and huckleberry with trust in the invisible. The quail and gooseberry, anticipation, and the snake and fern, starting over. Just like, when would I have ever picked a picture of a snail as a card I liked? Only with this deck, my dudes, only with this deck. I really like it, man. I really like it. Trust in the invisible. So this was the Woodland Wardens deck by Jessica Roux. I hope that you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening. And as always, stay wild, star child.